My name is Marklin Blakelock. I'm the Deputy CEO of Centara Hotels and Resorts. Well, what I would say at the outset is our hearts and prayers reach out to everyone that's been impacted directly by COVID-19. Initially, it was a situation that started in China, and the initial impacts were not so severe. Speaking of February and March, January, February, March is traditionally for Thailand the peak season, and a good many travelers were already in Thailand. So as I say, the impacts were not so great. Then as the situation seemed to be getting under control in China and the immediate region, now it's a situation of really making sure that we provide safe and completely secure environments for our guests and staff that are still dealing with the situation. Really, where our staff are concerned, we really feel they've done a great job and with a lot of understanding and empathy for everyone involved. So we've really been very proud of them, and so as I say, we have rigorous procedures in place. In fact, pandemic preparedness, pandemic awareness, I guess first was implemented in 2002, 2003 with the SARS outbreak, and since then we have had policies in place, revisited those policies periodically to make sure that they're still as current as they need to be. So when this situation first arose, it was really just a question of reverting back to them and implementing what those policies dictated. So we've been implementing temperature check at main entrance of our properties, staff entrance of our properties, also for any visitors to the properties, to whether they be at a corporate level or suppliers. So that has been in place for quite some time. Also providing sanitation stations, sanitizing anything that anyone touches, elevator call buttons. The frequency of those sanitation elements has been accelerated. So primary concern, and I'm happy to say that at this point we have not had any direct incidents in any of our properties, and we're operating 43 properties primarily in Thailand but also outside of Thailand, and we hope we can keep it that way and do so by implementing these rigorous policies and procedures for the benefit of everyone. In terms of the current outlook, obviously it's a situation that really from a business continuity point of view forces us to, where business is concerned, mostly focus on domestic business. Even domestic business is reduced, but hopefully with some really attractive offers, value-added packages, some strong inducements, we will be able to offer some great relief at really good prices for the domestic market. But the impact in the first quarter, so January, February, March, were not that extreme. And looking at the situation optimistically, we were expecting maybe to have a shortfall in our revenue per available room, which is a combination of occupancy and average room rate, by between 10 and 15%. Clearly now with the more protracted nature of this crisis, the situation is likely to go beyond that, but hopefully the impacts will be mostly on the second quarter, April, May, June, and within that period we're hoping, as I mentioned earlier, a vaccine will be developed, the number of cases will start declining, and the normal travel will be reinstated, such that the third quarter and in particular the fourth quarter do rebound. In Thailand, the peak season is kind of December through to March, and then again kind of just November, December. So most of that peak, the hotels were able to take benefit of it, certainly November, December, January. The next peak is at the end of the year, and if that peak is a normal peak, then the impact for hotels in Thailand this year will not be as severe as they would be otherwise. We're hoping that even in the second quarter, with some attractive offers, we have great resorts located in beautiful scenic locations, that we can encourage some domestic travel and some travel within the region, in particular by countries that have been less affected thus far. But it's a very difficult situation to anticipate. We are doing everything we need to do to ensure business continuity, to ensure that we're in the right place when the rebound takes effect, and we're completely confident that rebound will take place. You know, at some point this situation will be brought under control and people will start traveling again. And I guess the only benefit to this current situation is it does give us an opportunity to accelerate some of the renovations that we had had planned. In particular in this property, we're undergoing a very extensive renovation of all the guest rooms, more than 650 million baht of investment, and that accelerate that process. And at this point, rather than completing it by middle of next year, we're now at the stage where we should be able to complete it before the peak season at the end of this year. So that will give us some benefit. The rebound will be faster for this particular property, and we have other smaller scale renovations were planned during slower periods of the year, but I'd have to say under normal circumstances we generally operate at very high occupancy. We currently have around 7,000 employees across all of our property, both in Thailand and overseas. Obviously, with the reduced activity levels in the hotels, we have had to implement measures to reduce our payroll, our labor costs. Those have included in the first phase eliminating things like overtime, part-time workers, reducing our commitments with outsourced agents. And then beyond that, we felt that it was important to go a little bit further and asked our staff to volunteer for unpaid leave. Again, many of these activities are not new to us because we had the previous situation with SARS, but we've also had some other disruptions in Thailand of a more political nature, which at times have forced us to reach out to the staff and ask them to support the organization through certain sacrifices. So the take-up voluntary unpaid leave was very good. I would say just about everyone volunteered to take a certain number of days. The senior management all volunteered for 5 days. So the response to that initiative was very good, very encouraging. Of course, now as we look at the next period being April, May, June, some of those measures will have to be intensified because the activity levels are even lower. And we have multiple properties in similar locations, so we may choose to temporarily close one and consolidate our business in the other. Any guests so impacted would only be upgraded, so they'd be moved to higher accommodations, and so there would be no disruption to our guests. And by doing that, we could reduce fixed costs a little bit more and weather this current situation more efficiently. Obviously, these are things that need to happen in order to ensure that we are in the best possible position when the crisis passes and when we gear up for more activity.